Hop Edition podcast is brought to you in association with Brew Keg Tap, the #1 choice for all your beer dispense and kegging needs, and specialists in the supply of Kegland brewing equipment to the UK market. So next time you're in need of taps, kegs, or anything with a Zilla on the end, get over to brewkegtap.co.uk and tell them the Hop Edition sent you. We would also like to thank all our patrons for their continued support with running and developing the pod. If you would like to become a member and gain access to exclusive perks and benefits, head over to patreon.com/the Hop Edition podcast. Now pour yourself a cold one and enjoy the episode.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hop Edition podcast. Tonight we are doing a commercial pod where we're going to be drinking and reviewing a few commercial beers. We are absent one Scotsman tonight because he's currently exploring the swamplands where the webbed-feeted people dwell, otherwise known as the Norfolk Broads. And yeah, so as a man down, we thought we'd do a nice easygoing commercial pod, and apologies to anyone from Norfolk for that little slight there at the beginning. But yeah, Andy seems to be having a good time despite people parking too close to him in their boats. So we're going to drink a few beers, have a good chat, and I think we're going to start off with a few updates on things that are going on, particularly pertaining to our sponsor, who is going to be involved in a few other events that we will let you know about shortly as well. So, but before we go into that, let's do the usual round robin of what you're drinking. I will start off. I've got because it's unbearably sweaty and hot at the moment. I'm going sort of lager themed this evening. I've got a Utopia, or your Utopian even, unfiltered British lager. Utopian are pretty much exclusively lager brewers, I think, aren't they? Is that right? And their thing is all about mainly using kind of British ingredients and British hops and so on in their beers. So this is an unfiltered British lager, but it's in the Bavarian Helles style, brewed solely with the finest British malted barley and hops, and obviously otherwise following standard lager fermentation. Definitely does look unfiltered, so it's got a little bit of a haze on it. It's got a lovely sweet, bit of it on my keyboard there. Got a lovely sweet kind of malt aroma there. Nice bit of honey. And some, yeah, British herbal, hedgerow kind of hop notes. Crisp, refreshing, and most importantly at the moment, very, very cold, which is my main theme that I'm looking for with my beers tonight, because yeah, it's very unpleasantly hot at the moment. But yeah, who's next?
Crispy boy.
Owen, you sound like you're in a test lab at a jet propulsion laboratory.
Oh, I need to turn my fan off, man.
Yeah.
It's so hot though. I'm gonna
Just
melt.
get some ice cubes and strap them to your nutsack, you'll be fine.
All right, fine. Yeah. Anyway, tonight's episode is being sponsored by Vocation, specifically Bread and Butter, a dry hopped pale, of which I have just received 24 cans of. Did anyone see 24? Yeah, did anyone see their deal on that was?
That's a banger of a deal.
Yeah, 40 quid for 24 cans of Bread and Butter, or their other another beer that they had on, which was Hop, Skip and Juice, which is a slightly higher ABV, quite similar sort of hops, I think. But this is the 3.9% version, so slightly more sessionable dry hop pale with Citra, Mosaic and Simcoe. But it's got a lovely, nice clarity to it. So it's not a hazy beer. Super light, pretty crushable, classic hop aroma. It's not leaping out at you, but it's definitely there when you give it a snoot. Yeah, It's a nice beer. First one. I only got them this morning, so they've been cooling in the fridge.
It's a
So
cracking beer, is that one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had
mate,
that at the
just
start
what
of
you
the
want, just what you
vocation
want.
pod, I think, and yeah, I'd say that's a good one for this kind of heat as well.
Yeah.
I got a few cans of it with me. I'm
24, to be
basically-
precise.
24. Well, I haven't brought all 24 up. You'd be pleased to know. So yeah, I've got 3.
It's under 4%, so it's reasonable to expect you to plough through all of those during this pod.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon
Oh,
he'd spend
fair
more
dues.
time pissing than he would talking.
I think you're probably right, especially the amount of juice I've drunk before. I've filled up my old Hofbrau, my Hofbrau Stein. Halfway through that. Yeah. I've just lost your audio, Chris. Well, your audio's sounding a bit weird. You
Yeah,
getting
it's
that as well,
sounding weird
Tricky?
to me.
Yeah.
I'm sounding weird.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're back
right
now.
You're back.
I'm back. There's
Yeah.
something very strange going off. I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to start pulling cables out and removing stuff and changing it. So,
Right, it's back to normal now.
weird.
So yeah, that's what I'm drinking, and I've also got another can of something else for the evening, which is a sour. I'll tell you more about that later.
Oh, wow.
Just one more point before I pass over to you, Chris. Just want to say a big shout out to our new patron, Steve Buttle,
Who works at St James's Hospital in Leeds. He's a friend
nice.
of Ocean.
Oh, excellent. Well,
Mr. Suxamethione.
welcome, Steve. Thanks for your support.
Oh, wait there. Andy's come up with an idea. He reckons it's something to do with echo cancellation. So I've just turned off my echo cancellation. Is that better now?
No, that's made
now,
it
you-
really
now,
quiet.
now you're really quiet. So if you crank your gain back up,
Oh, for God's sake. Andy, stop giving fucking ideas from the Norfolk Broads and get back to dealing with the inbreds. Is that any better? Is that better now?
yeah, keep going.
Is that any better now? Am I loud enough? Am I
Yeah,
loud
that's
enough?
it. That's good. That's good.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll leave
yeah,
it right
yeah,
there
yeah,
then.
you're good there.
Excellent.
Marvellous.
Right, so I'm not drinking a commercial just yet because I needed a loosener after a fairly monumental carvery that I had earlier on. The good old Toby carvery. I'm going to pimp them up because their roast potatoes are almost as good as my wife's. But I'm just drinking Hebrews 24/7, the beer that was named by Biggie Banana as part of the competition.
Uh-huh.
And this beer is weirdly actually getting slightly better with age. The hops are coming through a little bit clearer and everything's tasting a little bit better. And it wasn't a sulphur note. I mean, of course you are, Andy. You're in a hotel in Doncaster. But the kind of there was a tinge. It could be interpreted as sulphur, and that's disappeared completely. And I think that was something to do with the hop and lock yeast, personally. But yeah, really nice, beautiful, gorgeous flavour now. Absolute banger of beer. Thanks, Stevie B, for the name. You're a legend, mate. And yeah, I'll be moving on to commercials in about 2 gulps time. Yeah,
Cool,
about
cool.
2 gulps.
Talking of hop unlock, I made a beer with hop unlock not too long ago, and I mash hopped it, and I used hop unlock yeast, and I also pitched a pack of Clipper from CML, and I ended up with just really bad acetaldehyde. I was really quite disappointed. Yeah.
So
That's
you
quite-
picked dried clipper and wet hop and lock.
Yeah, I made a yeast starter from some. I think it was from. No, it was from a fresh pack. Yeah, I made a yeast starter with it.
Wow.
Whether I rushed the fermentation, don't know. But or whether it was just like, I don't know, the hops I ended up using combined with the file release just ended up driving loads of apple flavours. So it's not actually acetaldehyde, but it's actually like a thiol that has a apple flavour to it. I'm not
It's
sure,
possible.
but
Could be.
I'm not really enjoying it, so it's going down the drain.
It's quite unusual to get acetaldehyde in ales generally anyway, I would think. I've only ever really experienced it with lagers or kolsches myself. I know it is possible, but
we had lots of them when we did the competition.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I think that might have been a function of the beers potentially being a bit oxidised, though, because it can actually kind of come back out of a beer if it's as a factor of oxidisation taking place, apparently.
Or it's secondary fermentation.
More likely secondary
where
fermentation.
Yeah,
given
where the
temperature
beer's
of
getting
everything.
warm. Yeah, which I don't think happened, right? Like, I just followed the normal brewing process. No dramas. Very weird. Sometimes just weird shit happens, right? I thought I'd share that.
And we appreciate you sharing with us, Owen.
Yeah. Andy
Thanks.
thought he'd share this.
Yeah.
So apparently he's not in Norfolk anymore.
But he is around inbreds.
Yeah. It's the three-eyed ones, not the webbed feet ones.
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, I am actually from Doncaster myself. Which explains the 11 toes and the webbed feet. Before we move on, can we do a massive shout out to Brewcake Tap again and let everybody know, if you are a previous customer of Brewcake Tap, you might want to check your emails, because you should have had an email by now. So to celebrate the 5th birthday of BKT, the 8th birthday of BKT being a thing, because for 3 years they were just on eBay, and now Brewcake Tap, 5 years in a shop, what am I on about, in a warehouse, delivering, being an online store. They're doing a fairly monumental deal. I can't give you the numbers, but all I will say is you might want to log in, you might want to add some stuff to a basket, and you might want to post the code that you're going to be sent on email, because it's store wide for those of you who are previous purchasers from there. And then keep an eye out for the next few days after that as well, because there's going to be some fairly hefty discounts on certain things. Also, and I spoke to Johnny specifically about this. I was on my way to work going up a very steep hill at the time, and I said to him, "Is there anything new that you want us to sort of, just announce on the podcast, get a little bit more reach for?" And he went, "Oh yeah, you remember the Brewzilla version 3, the one that everybody loved? Yeah, so we're currently selling them for a ridiculously cheap price. So you might want to log on and check out the version 3 Brewzilla. Don't sleep on a version 4 though. The version 4 is still damn good. But the version 3 was the one that everybody seemed to really like. Maybe not more than the version 4, because the version 4 is still amazing. But Johnny's got them for a fairly ridiculously good price at the moment, so you might want to go and have a look at those. Tricky may want to consider upgrading his sous vide from an S40 to one of those, because it might actually hold temperature for you, Trick.
Within a slightly narrower range than about plus or minus 3 degrees that it is at the minute. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bad sous vide, let alone a
plus or minus 15
all-in-one
degrees.
brewing thing. Yeah.
Makes no difference to final gravity, mate. I don't know what you're on about.
Well, apparently, yeah. You don't need to worry about mash temperatures.
No, mash temperatures is just pointless.
They're all over the place anyway, so why even bother concerning yourself with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you are a customer of Brewcake Tap, a previous customer, check your emails, because it's coming. It's coming down the line.
Yeah, so that ties into some other news which Brewkeg Tap are involved in. So Brewcon 2023 has been announced. Brewkeg Tap are going to be there, and they are also going to be sponsoring the what I believe is going to be the kind of main homebrew competition that is associated with that. So it's a little bit different this year because it is a sort of club-focused competition, although obviously there will still be individual prizes and rosettes and medals and all that kind of stuff. But the overall competition is being sort of pitched as a club championship or club challenge or something like that. And Brewkeg Tap are the main sponsor of that competition, and obviously are going to be present at Brewcon itself. So that is on Saturday, October the 7th, I think it was.
Yes, it is.
I'm hoping to get there, assuming that the trains don't do everyone over like they did last year. I still managed to go last year, but I had to leave very early, much earlier than I wanted to, because one of the best parts at Brewcon is actually doing the after party drinks where everyone just gets stuck into the homebrews that have been brought along. And missed out on that last time, but that was because otherwise I wouldn't have been going home to Bedford until the next day. I didn't fancy, I didn't fancy sleeping rough in Hackney or wherever it is.
Was Timmy's hotel room not available again?
No, I wasn't able to be Little Spoon, so I had to miss out on that one. But
everybody's Little Spoon.
That's for sure. It's at Wildcard and Hackney Brewery, which are opposite each other. The event is going to spread between their two tap rooms, so there's actually some really nice beers to be had from those breweries as well. Lots of talks from various people going on. I think the details of all of that stuff will emerge over the coming months as it leads up to it. But I've been to a few of them. They've all been good. Would highly recommend. And hopefully there'll be a few of us Hop Edition crew going along, and possibly a few of the patrons and stuff as well. So it'd be good to meet a few people there. Chris is going.
Wife's authorised it.
Owen's thinking about it.
I will do my very best. I'm pretty sure I can make it.
Good stuff.
Excellent. So if you walk around, just look for me. I'm very fat and very bald. Look for Chicky. He's very short and very bald. And look for Owen. He's going to be the best looking motherfucker there.
And I'm quite tall. Yeah.
He's not that tall, but he's pretty reasonably tall. He does have a luscious head of hair, though.
It's the standout feature, really, isn't it?
It is. It's a gorgeous head of hair. He needs to get one of those 1980s Flock of Seagulls kind of thing going off.
Yeah?
You think?
What, like a sort of centre parting?
Yeah, centre parting, but with the proper, like... It's going to stick up at least 2 inches before it comes
down.
Like
a double quiff kind of thing at the front.
Sort of like, sort of more 90s, wasn't it? It was sort of like...
I thought Flock of Seagulls was 80s.
It might have been. I think it re-emerged in the 90s.
Kind of a Duran Duran kind of hairstyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't think I'm going to do that, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, cheers, man.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay. Since this is a commercial episode, does anybody have anything else they want to add?
What, as far as like things that are going on, or brewing news, or
something before I jump in and grab another beer and start yattering about it?
Only other sort of bit of brewing current affairs that I've become aware of over the last couple of days is that kind of linking into the discussion of Thiol-ized beers is that Malt Miller now have that Phantasm Thiol powder available, which I've managed to procure a packet of already. So that, of course,
you have.
Hey, that will be going into something.
Shilling is as shilling does.
Well, I was offered it, so I thought it'd be rude to say no.
Of course you were, sweetheart.
So we will, I'll be trying that out even. And that is the, it's a grape skin or something like that.
Grape must. Yeah, is it not Sauvignon Blanc grape must?
I think you might be right, yeah. So it's a powdered form of that because grape must is rich in thiols or thiol precursors. So if you put that into your brew, I think it's either at the end of the boil or sort of maybe. Do they say you can dry hop? Well, not dry hop, but add it as a dry hop type addition. Possibly, I might be talking out my arse, but it goes in the later stages of the brewing anyway, as far as I'm aware. And then obviously adding kind of thiolized yeast to that, it will hopefully unlock lots of interesting flavours from them. So yeah, another thing on the kind of thiol hype train that's still steaming along at the moment.
I think for anyone that, just to add to that, if there's anyone that's really interested in that, I'm pretty sure our good friend and not friend, but we talk about him a lot, Scott Yanish, pretty sure he did a write-up on thiols and referenced and talked a lot about phantasm or great maths. But the background there is that, Thiol's have been a thing in the wine industry for quite a long time, and New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is sort of renowned for having that passion fruit sort of vibe going on in their wine, and that's actually driven as a result of the Thiol's during fermentation. So I think that's kind of where it all comes from.
It does make sense, to be fair, because I think some of the commercial kind of Thiol-ized beers that I've tried up to this point have had a kind of intensely grapey flavour to them, and I think that's probably the most prominent kind of flavour that I got from the Thiol-izing, or however you want to call it, kind of process that had been done with those beers, and particularly the ones where they were using n+1 hops as well. It just became almost overwhelmingly kind of grape juice like in character, to my palate anyway. So yeah, that kind of makes sense.
There are all manner of different flavour compounds. I'm not sure if that's the right terminology, that have different flavour profiles, and I think one of them is very like grape oriented, or passion fruit oriented. It's like 4-MMP, I think, is one of them. There's a whole bunch of different ones.
BRB Googling.
Yeah, go Google it. There is a whole list of them that are quite predominant. But actually, there are also certain flavour compounds that have really unwanted flavour characteristics. Possibly, as I found out in that brew that I did. So it's I'm not sure. Sometimes it's like, if you use different hops, whether they have potential, combined with a Thiol releasing yeast, they have the potential to provide some quite different flavour profiles. Some of them maybe not all that great. It's a really interesting subject. We could talk about it all night, but I don't think we will. Save that for another day, shall we?
Okay, so a very quick Google comes up with a bunch of compounds, biogenesis pathways for 4-MMP, which is 4-mercapto 4-methyl-pentantuone. I think somebody's put an extra T in there when there should only be one. I think it should be pentantuone.
Schmucks. Total amateurs.
Absolute bellends. I said that for J4 because I know he loves the word bellend. And then you've got 3-MH, which is 3-mercaptohexane-1-ol, and then 3-MHA, which is 3-mercaptohexyl acetate. So, yeah. There's some really good information out there if you want to read some of it. Just do a search for 4-MMP, and it comes up with a whole list of publications and stuff like that. You might need to join ResearchGate, or if you've got an account for ResearchGate, then you can review all of this. But they are very thiol heavy. They have all got the sulfur bridge in there. Cis3MH, G3MH, Cis4MMP, G4MMP are all in there as well. So yeah, it's all, and there's a really nice article that's been written. It's in Oxford University Press, and it's called "The Variation in 4-mercapto-4-pentantuone Release by Saccharomyces cerevisiae Commercial Wine Strains." It's actually a really interesting read. I'm only halfway through the abstract, but essentially what it's saying is Saccharomyces cerevisiae does a really good job of releasing quite a lot of these on its own, and if you give, by that theory, if you give them a lot more of the precursors, then they're going to produce a lot more of them. So, yeah.
I mean, this is the reason why, like, dry hopping beers became such a popular thing, because
absolutely.
Hops contain huge amounts of thiols, don't they? They contain these flavour compounds. It's just now they've discovered, we've got yeasts that can unlock even more. But it's, in my mind, it just adds another layer of variable that sometimes can not always work in your favour.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, it seems
So
like it's a bit unpredictable at the moment as far as like what you're going to get out at the end of it, because it's obviously very early days with it. But yeah, it seems like it's probably more of a like you say, a tool to add maybe that extra, layer of complexity or something to a beer, as opposed to maybe being the thing that you lean on for all of the flavour. Because I found it was a little bit overpowering in some of the beers that I had it in, and it was like, okay, I could see how this could make a beer amazing as a additional kind of flavour note in there, but when it's the main thing you're tasting, it just seemed to be a little bit intense for my palate anyway. But
Well, there has to be some sort of sulfur containing compounds within the malt as well. There has to be. Sulfates are a big thing when it comes to agriculture, and it would make sense to me that there's sulfur compounds, whether they're thiol or not, you don't really know. But if there's that in the malt, and then you've got it in the hops, and then you've got a yeast that unlocks it all, it could be very, very easy to end up with too much.
Yeah, it's definitely in the malts as well, because I've read a few articles on it that have said that obviously not at the same sort of concentrations, but different malts can have different levels of it and be significant anyway.
Lance was talking about it, wasn't he?
We need to get him back on and explain thiols a lot more, don't we?
Lance was a legend. I'll tell you a funny story. The other day, there was quite a sweaty man that I kind of came across. I won't go into too much detail, but
this story could go in a variety of directions.
I sort of ended up within his sort of quite close proximity to him, and his bodily odour smelt just like mosaic. It was perturbing.
Appropriate use of the word perturbing.
Kind of 80s squash court vibe, was it?
Yeah, it was very confusing because it kind of almost smelt good.
You just lean in a bit closer.
I was like, mosaic. Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah. Have you ever been on a session on the craft beers that's been heavy enough where you felt like you've actually been exuding those aromas yourself through your pores?
Oh yes, absolutely.
I'm sure I've had that in the past.
There's been a few mornings.
I can still smell citra somewhere. Right? That's coming from me.
Can I just say, Owen, I don't think you could have made a better segue, because this is the beer that I've just cracked open. Right.
Are you getting full-on sweaty Jim from that?
I am actually getting full-on blueberry and sweaty Jim from this. So literally nobody. For those of you who've been watching the stream, it's been 35 minutes since I last had a vape, and I've had a full beer since then. Right, so I thought I'd crack this open and give Rooted in Mosaic by Burnt Mill a good crack. Now, first off, the colour's amazing on this beer. Okay, I really like the colour. Secondly, the nose smells exactly like a really well-used squash court. Right, I'm getting sweaty, dank kind of blueberry, a smidge of the old BO, that kind of mixture between non-natural rubber and the smell of somebody who's not changed their hand grip in a while.
Is it a little diesel-y? Again, picking up any diesel?
No, I'm not getting that petroleum kind of thing. It's more Castrol GTX than it is kind of diesel. It smells a little bit oily, but to be fair, the head retention is absolutely shocking because there's an oil slick sitting on top of the beer.
Yeah.
But
what's that? Just hop oil sat on the top.
Flavour-wise, it's blueberry. It's this weird tropical melange. But the blueberry's coming through quite clearly. Yeah. It is quite dank, though. That's one thing I will say about it. It does have a level of dank sweatiness. Almost In fact, I'll tell you what it smells like. When I open up the bottle of CBD before I add it to my e-liquids, it's got that kind of almost weed smell to it.
Yeah.
And it's got a bit of a weed flavour to it as well.
Yeah, Mosaic's not for everyone, is it? It's got a very distinct... That's why I think it plays well with Citra. Citra kind of, almost just brings up the bit that Mosaic's almost missing to turn it into like... It rounds that dankness into like a more of a tropical thing.
What I would liken this to, okay, this is a lobster, and Citra would bring the squeeze of lemon on the top, just to kind of open up the meat, allow that sweetness to come through and to give you the full flavour. Whereas as it is right now, I've just got a boiled lobster with no acid. And that's kind of what it's giving you. It's not completely unpleasant, because the blueberry flavour is very overwhelming on the exhale. But the actual... I mean, I wouldn't buy it again.
Do you think, with that in mind, maybe like an all Mosaic beer might work well with the sour? If it was sour and it had that lactic vibe, it might work quite well.
Somebody make one and send us all a bottle.
Yeah. Anyone fancy doing that? Good.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
I wouldn't buy it again. I wouldn't drink it again. It's a good beer.
I must admit, I did have that one a little while ago. I didn't think it was one of the best from
It talks
Burnt
about
Mill,
peachy esters.
considering that all the other ones I thought were pretty excellent, to be fair, at that point.
Peachy esters? No, there's no fucking peachy esters.
I'm not sure I had... actually, the only disappointing Burnt Mill beer I had...
You weren't that keen on that Impy?
Was that
were you?
Impy? Yeah, that Impy was not my cup of tea.
Because the opposite end of the spectrum was the little Impy,
Oh, mate, that was...
which was mind-blowing. So it
the
would appear they can...
faux Impy. Pseudo
So they
Impy.
can make great pseudo-Impies, but actual Impies, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I'm not going to judge them on their Impy standards purely from that one, but it was like... It was... I think it'd come out sort of sherry casks or something, or they're barrel aged in
cognac.
cognac.
Yes.
Yeah, and it just had like a... It was pretty aggressive as Impies go.
Bit hot, kind of. Alcohol barrel kind of flavour to it. I've got that one in the garage myself, and I've been a bit scared of it since your review. So
Yeah,
I might leave it to age for a while.
Everyone's palate's different, right? But you know, it just lacked a bit of sweetness for me. Yeah. There you go.
Impies need... I want to talk about this, right? Because it's coming up on Impy brewing season. Okay, we're almost in August. People are going to be making them to give them a 4, 5, 6 month aging, whatever they're going to give them before Christmas, when everybody tries to destroy their liver in 2 short weeks. But I find that yes, you need the bitterness to balance the sweetness with an Impy, but you do still need some sweetness. You can't just have a super bitter Impy. It just doesn't work. You need the sweetness to balance everything out.
And there's some different elements of bitterness that come out of an Impy, isn't it? Because some of it can come from the malt, particularly the darker malts, which is easy to overdo. Then there's also the hot bitterness.
And then
but you can end up making it too sweet.
Yeah.
And then so it's a bit of it's a proper balancing act making an Impy.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. It's a brewing challenge.
Just something to give people a little bit of thought while they're coming up with their triple chocolate bean fruited cherry cascade Impies that they're going to brew for Christmas with marshmallows and pecan pie or something. Just remember the sweetness as well as the bitterness.
Yeah, would you? Have I sent both of you a bottle of my Impy that I made?
No.
Which one? What,
It
recently?
was the coconut It was a coconut, chocolate.
Oh no, I
tonka
did
bean
get that one because I remember that because you drew a cock on the label. So
Oh, I
that
did,
was,
didn't I? Yeah,
Yes, you did.
yeah. Obviously, that was fun. Very immature.
But appropriate.
Well, yeah, you know.
I'm not sure I sent you. I'll go, Chris. It's too sweet though. It's too sweet, sadly.
Oh, wait there. David Foxton's opened up. He says he thought I stopped at 4.5.
Nah.
Where is it?
Chris has broadened his horizons.
He still shies away from the dippers and tippers.
Mate,
but...
I ain't going much above 6.5. You can fucking keep them, but...
Nah,
Yeah.
I've seen you drink dippers. I guarantee you will drink at least 2 or 3 dippers when we're at London Craft Beer Festival.
I mean...
Which is only
maybe
a month away.
Yeah, it is known.
A bit more? 5 weeks?
So,
here we go. That looks very
I've got
German.
another one. Yeah, I mean...
that's a great beer.
Wow. Wow.
I enjoyed that one a lot.
This one is a Pomona Island and Tannhauser Gate. I believe it's a collaboration. I assume Tannhauser Gate is a authentic German brewery, and it's it's Hell's Lager. It's supposed to be a Hell's Lager. Yeah, it didn't really have any head when I poured it out, and it's definitely not got any in there now. Yeah, so I'm a bit disappointed with it, to be honest. It's Hell's, you should have a real it's supposed to be kind of malt led, right? Certainly compared to the last beer, there's not really much in the way of malt aroma coming off of it. It looks super light in colour, so I mean I get the feeling this is probably just a single malt beer anyway. So you'd be expecting a little bit of darker colour in a Hell's with maybe some Munich or other character malts in the grist. I mean this can was a bit past its best before date, but I wouldn't have thought that would have been much of an issue with a lager. But it's just flat and lifeless, and I mean it's not flat, it's quite fizzy, but I'm just not really getting any malty flavour out of it.
Have you got a syringe to hand? You could try
not
that.
To hand,
little
Tricky,
trick
just use your ass vibrator. Drop it in for half a second.
That's upstairs. Get that
it's butt plug. It's vibrating butt plug.
So, I mean, it's almost like, to me, this kind of tasting like it's almost like a Pilsner sort of base, but it's not, because it's not got the hoppy bitterness there, and the malt flavour's not really there either. It's just a bit like thin, kind of fizzy yellow water. But
I really enjoyed that. I must have had a better can than you, mate, because mine had loads of head.
Maybe you did, because this is shit.
Chris, I think from memory, Chris said it was the best lager he may have ever drunk from a UK brewery.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just put it down to inconsistent cans then, because I mean, it doesn't look great, does it? Like, does that look like the beer you had, or?
I mean, it was a similar colour, but mine had. I mean, you remember me drinking it, Owen? It had bags of head. Yeah.
I mean, it looked and sounded legit. So I don't know, maybe you got a dud, mate.
I think it might be. But yeah, I mean, like, compared to the Utopian beer, which was really, really flavoursome, this is just not really doing much for me at all. But it's cold, so...
You're still going to drink it, Rich.
Yeah, it's
cold
still
and
cold.
Wet. Let's go.
So, it's going to
according to the
quick.
internet, Tannhauser Gate is only a beer from Pomona Island. I'm not getting anything else which says anything to do with Pomona.
Oh, really? Is that just the name of it, then?
Tannhauser Gate being anything else.
Probably just what they called it, then.
Although, weirdly enough, Cigar City Brewing in Tampa, Florida, did do a Weizenbock called Tannhauser Gate. So I'm presuming Tannhauser Gate is actually a place.
Interesting.
Oh, wait there. The Tannhauser Gate was the location of a campaign in which Roy Batty, whoever he is, Blade Runner.
What?
So it's something to do with Blade Runner.
The movie.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
there you go.
Yeah, there's a blurb on the can which is a Blade Runner reference. I've done things you people wouldn't believe. Drank Hell's Lager off the shoulder of a Ryan. I think one of the guys who runs the brewery is called Ryan. I watched the guy from D-Ream witter in the dark with a can of Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time for beer. Not quite summoning the spirit of Rutger Hauer with that one, but never mind.
No, I'm not feeling that at all. I love Blade Runner. It's a great film.
Have you
But
seen
yeah.
the new one?
No,
What was it called? 2044?
Blade Runner
2047? I think.
2047?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I don't want to bastardize the memory of the original. To be fair.
It was an entertaining film. I wasn't. Yeah, it's not gonna sort of be as memorable as the original. But
No, of course not. No, it was very like it had a lot of cinematic suspense.
yeah,
I can't remember who.
Is
made
it worth a watch?
Is it the same guy that made the Dune movies?
not sure.
I'm gonna have a look. Just gonna nerd out.
Yeah.
2049. It was 2049. You got it wrong.
Oh, 2047 sounds better.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Does
it was
anybody have
this-
another
it's,
beer?
It's directed by the same guy that's been making the new Dune movies, which I'm super excited about. The second one.
I've not
coming
seen
out.
Dune. I've not seen the
Oh, I've not
new
watched that
Dune.
either, to be fair.
I would watch the first one. It's excellent.
Wow,
Really
there we
good.
go.
It's really, very good.
This is what you get from the Hop Edition. You see, you get obscure film references and film recommendations.
Okay. All over it.
We're just those kinds of people. You know what I mean? Also, I'm gonna pimp up a musician while we're at it. Jelly Roll. Go listen. You'll thank me later. Yeah, he's just a long-haired son of a sinner. Trying to find new ways that he can be gone. Great, great.
Cool.
Anyway, also his life story is quite fucking amazing, to be fair. Anyway, this beer's almost gone. Does anybody have another one that they want to talk about? Because this is kind of what we do on a commercial. We talk about commercial beers and bollocks.
Still drinking this piss water at the moment, so
Okay.
not yet.
And Owen,
So what
are you
was
on
question?
another beer yet?
Yeah, no, I'm still on the same. I'm on my second beer, but I'm on the same thing.
Oh, for fuck's
I'm on the bread and butter, mate.
Am I gonna have to crush this one and get another one out?
Maybe.
I might drink the other beer.
In the meantime, anyone got anything brewing currently that they want to tell us about? Anything?
I've got a beer in the fermenter, which is just a pretty standard 5% hazy pale ale. Citra Mosaic Simcoe, I think, made with fermented with CML Clipper. Nothing very exciting. Pretty
Yeah.
standard. Big
But
whirlpool.
does it taste good?
It's still in the fermenter, mate.
But will it taste good?
Oh, I hope so.
There you go then.
Fingers
I'll
crossed.
Kind
say,
of all that matters.
I think it was almost after the whole the beer I made with the hop release, file release yeast, and I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
that was a fail. I need a hazy beer. I want that sort of beer. Let's make that. And
Tried, tested, and true.
exactly, just knock that out.
Yeah. Can I share a brewing story about my local brewing friend Alan? So
Go on.
Alan brews very kind of normal beers, very
Trad.
kind of traditional kind of beers.
Total trad brewer.
And he came round. He was on the scrounge for yeast because he's always on the scrounge for something. And I gave him a pack of Bohemian lager yeast. Told him to make a starter. He's taken it away. He's made a starter, and then he's pestered me for a recipe. So I gave him a rough recipe for a lager. You know, Pilsner, Saz, that. Off you go. You can't really go wrong. So he's taken that and he's decided it wasn't traditional English enough for him. So he's made what can only be described as the bastardized son of a bitter using Bohemian lager yeast and Fuggles. And then he invites me to have a pint of said beer. Yeah. Let's just say that if you're making a lager, Fuggles is not a fucking hop I would put in it.
Out of all of the UK hops that you could go for a English hopped lager, I think Fuggles is probably going to be right down the bottom of that list.
Yeah. And to make matters worse, I mentioned to him that I'd been dry hopping a few lagers. And that maybe, you know, if he wanted to go down that route, he could try...
no.
Yeah, so he dry hopped with Fuggles.
Oh, no.
No.
Cue 23 pints of utterly undrinkable shite, which he describes as really nice. I am concerned about Alan's taste buds.
Did it
I'm
taste
concerned
like
whether or not...
fizzy allotment shed? Or...
It tastes like failure. It's what it tastes like. If failure was a flavour, that is it.
It tastes like sandals and disappointment.
It was a cross between a tree branch and a fucking hayloft. Horrible.
Like,
So yeah.
just get some Fuggle. Just get a Fuggle pellet, dip it in a bit of honey, and just eat that. You might.
I mean, yeah, you're not far off. It was horrific. It was truly bad. So yeah, he's now asked me, because you know he's obviously drinking this lager. He's now asked me if I can pull together a recipe for him based on the ingredients that he's got, and he sent me this text message with all of his ingredients and all of his various hops and stuff. And literally, he can make a perfect Southern Jesse. He's got EKG up the yin yang, and he uses fucking Fuggles. You know. It's an English lager, Chris. No, it's not.
Does this guy brew commercially?
No, he just brews a lot.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So he's an avid home brewer.
He's an avid drinker, and he brews a lot. I mean, I don't want to talk down about the lad because he's a good bloke and everything, but some of the choices that he makes are questionable at best. Yeah, questionable is probably the best term. I offered him... I had 250 grams of Motueka left. And I offered him that. I said, yeah, I'll make a New Zealand Pilsner, crack on. And he went, oh no, I'm not brewing that. That's far too fruity for me. Yeah, use Fuggles instead, mate, crack on.
Yeah, he sounds like he sort of doesn't like curries because they're too...
Weirdly
they're
enough,
too
no,
foreign.
he doesn't particularly
Don't eat
like
that
curries.
foreign muck.
You don't much
You can
like
keep
curries.
that and your
He's a-
fruity beers.
He's a meat and two veg lad, you know. He'll have a pie, and that's about as exciting as it gets.
He's slightly downtrodden. His missus does keep him under the thumb quite impressively. He makes quite a lot of wine for her. But,
Yeah.
Fuggles lager, mate. Fuggles lager.
No.
Right.
Dry hopped Fuggles lager.
I have cracked another beer, which is not vacation bread and butter. I'm venturing out to the left field from with a beer from Vault City, which is a triple fruited mango modern sour beer. So I think they've been doing this kind of modern sour beer range, which I think they've mostly been pushing towards their supermarket kind of retail route. 6.2%. I'm not sure I'm gonna need to tell you much more than I've told you already. It is going to be sour, and it's going to be largely mango-y. Lots of juicy Alfonso mango. I mean, look at the colour on that. That's
virtually clear.
yeah. I mean, look, you can definitely see me through it. No,
Yeah,
it's
totally clear,
absolutely opaque. It basically looks like a glass of mango juice, right?
Looks like my mango hefe.
So they're just making like a solid kettle sour, and they're just lobbing obscene amounts of mango puree at it. And to be fair, the formula is a good one. It's a pretty solid formula for making a grapefruit sour. I think you can achieve the same thing at home with some Philly sour, a pretty basic grist, right? Go for like 5 to 6%. Make a pretty sour beer, and then just lob loads of like at least 2 or 3 litres of
Mango
fruit.
puree.
Yeah, mango puree or whatever puree you want. Smells bloody gorgeous. Oh, it's just summer in a glass right there.
Is it one of those beers that you smell it and you just want to keep smelling it rather than drinking it?
I mean, I want to rub it on my face.
As long as you don't rub it on your nipples on camera, we're all good.
No, I'm not going to rub it anywhere, but I'm going to drink it. It tastes flipping amazing. It really hides the strength of the beer as well, which is quite dangerous, right? So if you did make a beer like this at that ABV range, you could demolish a lot of this without and end up in a bit of a state, I think, if you're not careful, especially on a hot day. It's just fruit for days. I'm not a big fan of beers with like fruited beers. I'm going to say it. I'm not a big fan of fruited beers, other than when they're sour. Thoughts? Discuss.
I feel you're in the minority there, mate. I'll be honest. I know lots of people who really like a good fruited beer. I like a good fruited beer, but it has to have that balance of sweetness and fruit, as well as the hop. You have to get some hop. But I can understand where you're coming from. Sour beers, as a general rule, you know, fruited sours as a general rule are really quite nice.
I think maybe it's probably more that territory of like fruited wheat beers, American wheat beers, fruited pale ales. You know when they're just sort of like trying to kind of amp up the hop aroma by simply adding fruit juice. I'm not sure if that's my vibe. That's me. Maybe I am in the minority.
No, I was midway through pulling a beer out of the fridge. I can understand what you're saying, you know. Yeah. Do you know what would be who would have a really interesting standpoint on this one? Is somebody who owns a brewery. Maybe Martin Hodinot, Maverick Brewing, who's currently online, stuck in his tap room and can't have a beer. Serves you right for starting a brewery. But Martin.
The irony. Stuck in a tap room and he can't drink.
Surrounded by beer and not a beer to drink. Beer, or is it beer everywhere and not a drop to drink? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where Martin would come in on this one, because, I mean, he's got a tap room, so he's got a, let's not say captive audience, but he does have an audience who's turning up specifically for his beers. And it'd be nice to see him do a fruited beer and then see where he ends up as far as being able to sell it. Because there's a lot of people I know who come down on the same side of the fence as Owen when it comes to fruited beers. I don't particularly like them, but it is very difficult to make a good fruited beer. Getting that balance right when you're adding something as inconsistent as fruit is one of those things. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from, Owen. I can see where you're coming from. No? Nobody?
Yeah, no, I mean, I had, there was a beer that someone bought me, some Brewdog beers recently, and it was an American wheat beer that they'd added fruit juice to, and maybe this isn't a great yardstick.
What, being that it's
like,
Brewdog?
Yeah, and it's like, it's got this crazy, like, bongo vibe thing going on there. I'm just not sure it had the balance it needed. It didn't have enough bitterness to balance it all out, and you know, and I think Tiny Rebel tends to do this a lot as well. And you guys know my feelings on Tiny Rebel.
Would that be the fact that they're absolute shit?
Yes, something like that.
Well,
Feel
I can
better.
appreciate where you're coming from.
Got it off my chest, thanks.
Yeah. Vocations over and over their small IPA. I've been wanting to give this one a slam for a while, and I'll tell you why. It's because of the blurb on the back. And what it says is, hop to the rafters with a New Zealand and US hop melee. Bright, zippy gooseberry and lemon lime high notes. Sweet and jammy tropical fruit looms large in the background. This is a session IPA at 3.4% from Vocation, which is hopped with Motueka and Citra. I think this one's got to be worth a pop, hasn't it, really? Has anyone had this one?
I was supposed to have a few cans of that in my box from Vocation, but they sent me 2 cans of the Toucan IPA instead by mistake. But
I'm guessing you got it about that.
I didn't complain because that was like a 7% double dry hop beer instead of the 3 point whatever it is percent that is. Is it about 3%? Was it less than that?
3.4. Hang on,
3.4.
we have a reply from the man himself.
Fruited beers can get in the bin.
Okay.
I hear you. I hear
It
you,
would
Hoddy.
appear that people from near Southampton all think the same thing. Fruited beers are shit.
Yeah. Apart from, I don't know, fruited sour beers, I'm pro for fruited sours, but other than that, get in the bin.
Right.
Are we talking just sort of like pale ales and stuff there, or I mean, stuff that's like secondary fermented on fruit, like saisons and stuff like that? You're all right with that? Or is that not your vibe either?
I'm alright with that. I need to give this greater thought. I've made a bold statement. And
I think there's a little bit more nuance.
There's more nuance. There's too many exceptions going on here. Because I will and maintain that Sherry Le
Chef.
Yeah, Le Chouf is one of the best beers in the world.
Well, you guys drank enough of it at LCBF.
Yeah, I'm intending to repeat that.
We'll be back.
yeah. I'm gonna reverse my opinion for later. I'm gonna come back with a more nuanced response on fruit and beer.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do an episode on fruited beers.
Maybe we should.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris, we cut across you there. What were you about to say?
Andy has... Oh, wait there, wrong one. He says, hold on, Chris has a fruited Hefe on tap. Of course I do. Mango Hefe, mate. Why would I not? It's a banger of a beer, is that? I'm not in the same camp as Owen, you see. I quite like a fruited beer. I'm a fan of a fruited Hefe and a fruited sour. Not a huge fan of fruited dark beers so much. I don't mind them. You know, it's like, yeah. Some of them are alright, but most of them aren't great. Fruited impies especially, you know, although cherry impies are alright, but they're cherries. Cherries aren't really a fruit. They're kind of just something that you eat because they're lovely. So yeah, I can see what he's saying. I can see what Andy's talking about. But yes, I have a fruited Hefe literally on tap, a mango Hefe, and it's beautiful. Yeah, this particular small IPA from Vocation, I feel is lacking, and that's yeah.
That's disappointing.
It's lacking body more than anything else. I feel that Vocation should maybe take a little bit of direction from those of us who have explored the low ABV beers, and specifically the production of low ABV beers.
You directed them towards our podcast on said subject.
I'm gonna say, Gary, you might want to listen to our podcast.
Gary, it's time to learn from the experts.
Yeah, because we've got so much more experience.
We've been doing a lot of work in this field recently, and I think you might need to pick up a few tips.
The pros don't know it all.
They don't.
You know.
And it's a question of what works on scale, so I'm going to cover my ass with that one. But no, there's plenty of fruit flavour in this. There's loads of gooseberry. I'm gonna get some grief for this, but the lower end of the notes, the sort of the deeper fruits, rather than those really high, sharp kind of gooseberry, lemon, lime, that kind of top end, the more citrus top ends, they're quite clear. But the more tropical bottom ends, the mangoes and the guavas and the tropical fruits, are very kind of muted. It's not a terrible beer, but at the same time, it's not blowing the bloody doors off. It's really not. Yeah.
No, nice try at a Cockney accent there.
I only lived down there for 5 years, mate.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
Fucking
That was
awesome.
pretty
film.
bad as well.
It's a great film.
They were
though.
both pretty shocking attempts.
Come
Yeah,
on then,
they were.
Tricky. Show us how it's done.
Come
You're
on.
only supposed to blow the fucking doors off, mate.
Bloody doors, not fucking doors. Bloody
You-
doors.
All right,
You
I
said-
ad-libbed a little bit there.
You sounded Australian.
Oh,
did
that did go Australian, didn't it?
You
Unga
did,
bunga
yeah.
dinga wonga cobber.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
Ah, mate, not the bloody doors.
Give me a mid-strength beer.
We're gonna get some shit off of Ivan for this one, aren't we?
Oh,
Oh,
dear.
mate.
Yeah. No, it's all right. It's drinkable, but it's a lawnmower beer and nothing more.
Fair play, fair play.
I don't even know why I pulled it out of the fucking fridge, because there's some beers next to it that are phenomenal, and then I pulled this one out because I've not drunk it before, and now I wish I hadn't.
No, well, I mean, to be fair, it's so low ABV, you could just down it, can't you, and start on something else.
I could do, but I'll be honest with you, I've got a pack of pork scratchings calling my name and some chocolate peanuts I want to eat, so...
Fair enough.
Chocolate, I often find, doesn't like, unless you're drinking a dark beer, chocolate's not really a go-to beer snack, is it?
No,
It
but
doesn't
it's...
work particularly well
chocolate
with
peanuts.
hop bitterness.
I
I
mean,
don't think.
peanuts works, but I'm not sure chocolate works.
Hang on. Fucking hell. My, how the tides have turned.
It's a fair comment.
He's not wrong. Yeah. Get on the duration beers, says Andy.
I could do with a duration German Pilsner
Grisette.
right now. That would be good. And the Grisette, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking turtles all the way down to be... In fact, fuck it, I'm putting a duration order in.
At the moment, I've got a left-handed giant West Coast Pilsner instead, though. So I got a bruiser box from these guys. And this is only the second beer that I've had from that, actually, because I think it arrived a couple of days ago. The first beer was actually really, really good. It was a hazy IPA with Citra, Amarillo, and something else in it, maybe Centennial. Can't remember. Or Citra, perhaps. I already said that, didn't I? Anyway, so this one has got light crisp malt bill with Mosaic, Tettnang, and Citra hops. So, interestingly, they've gone for a little bit of noble character on there, and a little bit more life on the head there, but it's not massive. It did pour with a decent amount of head on there. It's a bit hazy, slightly hazy, but a very light straw kind of colour to it. There's not a huge amount of hop aroma coming off of it, but there is obviously, as you'd expect, a bit of dank fruitiness with your Mosaic and your what was it, Citra in there. And flavour wise, it is very nice. It's quite crisp and refreshing. There is definitely some noble spiciness coming through from the Tettnang, which helps to keep it in that kind of Pilsner sort of territory, I think, which is good. It's got a bit of that lager bite to it. I feel like it could maybe just do with being a little bit either drier or, crisper somehow. Might be a little bit low on the carbonation for a Pilsner as well, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think it just needs a little bit more pop or crispness on it to make it really make the flavour a little bit brighter, but it's pretty decent, to be fair. Yes.
Can I just say that this beer really comes alive after a gob full of pork scratchings?
Well, that's the secret.
You get a lot more tropical notes after you've had some pork scratchings.
I'm jealous. I sort of want a beer snack, but I don't have any.
Kebab.
No.
That's a bit more than a snack. To be
Yeah, that's a meal.
Please.
That is a meal.
Depends how much of it you eat.
Well, if I order a kebab, I want to eat all of it. Preferably.
Order a small kebab.
It's just not worth it, right? The delivery costs alone.
I mean, that's a fair point.
Maybe I should just stop complaining.
Yeah. Peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah, I've got peanut butter. I've got bread.
Peanut butter sandwich.
I could do that.
Here's a question. When you make a peanut butter sandwich, do you butter your bread before you put the peanut butter on it?
I've been inclined to say no, given that peanut butter does have the word butter in it, so that does make me kind of think that. Do you need butter on butter?
It depends.
I don't think I would have ever buttered something that was going to get peanut butter on it as well.
Seems excessive, doesn't it?
Hmm.
You know, a bit ostentatious.
Maybe.
Ostentatious use of butter.
One thing that I did want to hearken on when Tricky was doing his thing, where I had a crunchy mouthful, was what's people's opinions on the overuse of Tettnang? I find it a very
Overuse of
powerful
Tettnang?
hop.
In what context? Who is overusing Tettnang?
No. I've made some beers with Tettnang, obviously, because I make a lot of German beers. And I've found that there is a very real, very clear tipping point when it comes to the use of Tettnang. Sometimes you can slightly underdo it, and you end up with an overwhelmingly almost sweet beer. But then sometimes you go maybe 1-2 grams the other way with the same recipe, and you can end up with a beer which is just in your face spicy. Do you see what I mean?
I can't say I've used Tettnang enough to
I think, yeah.
comment, to be honest.
I've used it
'cause
once. I definitely remember it being what I perceive to be like the most prominently sort of spicy of the noble hops that I've tried. And I've actually just picked up a bag of it in my last order from Malt Miller, because I wanted to use that in a German Pilsner, because I think that that spiciness is kind of like, to me, what I associate with a quite, classic kind of German Pils flavour, where you do
Super
get that
crisp.
spicy, crisp, super crisp, super dry, but then a like prominent sort of spicy hop note on there as well. So
like a classic Holsten Pils.
yeah, but better, hopefully.
It's not hard to be better than that.
Yeah.
It's just one of them things. It's kind of where do you really go? Where do you really go with the Tettnang? How do you find that balancing point? I've discovered that it very much depends. There's almost a formula for ABV to grams of Tettnang. That's what I've worked it out to be.
Well,
And it,
I mean,
it seems to be very dependent upon the alcohol content.
I'm not basing it on any kind of, like I said, previous experience or evidence as such, but I'm planning on doing a German Pils with it, but basically doing sort of roughly kind of 50-50 split with Herzbrucker and Tettnang. So just, maybe get a bit more of the kind of floral sort of notes from the Herzbrucker, and then
Hopefully balance it out a bit.
spiciness with the Tettnang.
It's a very classic combination, is Herzbrucker and Tettnang, though. It used to be the de facto for wheat beers.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say Tettnang. I think I've definitely heard of it or seen it in use in Hefes quite a bit, but obviously you're not necessarily putting so much of it in that you're going to really notice the hop as much. But maybe it does because it's more powerful. You don't need as much. I don't know where I'm going with that.
It is a very pokey hop. It is a very pokey hop. It'd be interesting to know where that spiciness comes in the flavour profile to see what's actually causing the spiciness
I think
by using Tettnang.
actually I was reading I was reading something about this. Coincidentally, I was reading up on Tettnang when I was sort of trying to figure out this recipe for the German pills I wanted to do. I think something said farnesene, higher levels of
Spell that
farnesene
for
in
me.
it. Farnesene, maybe.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that was
Fruity and earthy, little known cannabis terpene.
cannabis terpene. Interesting. But I don't know which one of the kind of volatile oils is most associated with spiciness.
Oh, this is fucking amazing.
What's that?
So you've got myrcene, humulene, caryophyllene, and farnesene. Usually represents less than 1% of oils in the houblon, though maybe as high as 10% or more of the total oil content. But just because it is lower in quantities doesn't make it any less potent. Farnesene usually contributes a woody or herbal character and is seen in Saz and Tettnang.
Okay, interesting. So I mean, yeah, herbal could be interpreted as spicy as well, I suppose.
Yeah, because I mean, we usually say with clove, when you put cloves in a curry, that tends to add almost a spicy character to it, or a spiced character. I prefer spiced rather than spicy, but yeah, a spiced character to it. Yeah.
I mean, I've no idea how much they put into this because obviously, you know, you've got it's fighting against Mosaic and Citra in the mix as well, but it does give it that kind of like lingering spicy bitterness at the end.
Yeah.
That does make you think of like a German Pilsner. So I quite like the way that they've done that to use that with the American hops as well, to make it a little bit more Pilsner-like.
Can I just say, Tricky, that we're being blamed as bad luck now for people? Player one has just had his second beer kick tonight.
I take no responsibility for that whatsoever.
I mean, we ain't drinking them, bruv. That's all I'm saying. There's a lot of there's a lot of, for want of a better term, alchemy that can come out of the use of these hops. And I do firmly believe, and you'll agree with me on this one, but I'm thinking of it from a slightly different angle, that there are so many where we all know this. This is kind of a statement that everybody knows, but there are so many factors that go into the actual final effect that a hop is going to have on a beer, as far as the malt, the amount of malt, the ABV, the point in which they're added in the boil and everything. I just think that there's a lot to be said for the use of hops with a high specific content, such as the farnesene. Where you place them within the boil, where they're boiled, whether they're boiled for a long time, a short time, whether you're putting them in late or early, and the amount that you're putting in, as well as the ABV, I think all of that kind of affects very prominently the overall final feeling, for want of a better term, the final order. I'm scratching for words. The final kind of appreciation that you have for that hop's effect on the beer. And I think with Tettnang, I think it's such a fine line, it's such a fine point, that it's going to be difficult to nail that one down as far as whereabouts within the boil you should add it and how much you should add before you reach that tipping point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's so many. I think a good analogy is to think about, obviously, all those, or lots of those essential oils are used in the production of like, you know, perfumes and things like that, essentially, and the blending of them in different quantities can produce radically different, you know, results, and a total spectrum of different aromatics, and obviously as a follow-on from that, flavors as well in the case of beer, and just due to the nature of it, the balance of those, and also the effect on that balance that you get from applying them at different points in the brewing process creates infinite different potential outcomes, doesn't it? So
yeah, we've talked about this before, the infinite number of possibilities
Yeah.
of brewing a beer. And to be fair,
and that's before you even factor in like the interaction with malt and
Yeah.
yeast
yeah,
and brewing
Water
conditions, water profile,
oxidation levels,
temperature,
height above sea level.
it's even, you know, carbonation levels, and it's just, yeah, I mean, it really, it kind of highlights why it's almost a pointless objective trying to clone a beer like
Yeah.
for like,
There's no
because
point.
it's like you can have the recipe, the process, everything, note for note, and still end up with a beer that tastes like it's a completely different recipe.
Yeah.
More often than you'll get one that tastes, you know, similar sort of thing.
Is that why you prefer to call them tributes rather than
Exactly.
than
Yeah,
clones?
it's a tribute, which means you can make it taste completely different.
Taste however you want.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I've been thinking there's a couple of beers, like, you know, that Kahatu beer from Burnt Mill.
Burnt
The
Mill,
one-
Kahatu and Strata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to remake that or something close to that, because that is one of those beers that just absolutely fucking blew my mind when I drank it. I would love to get balls deep into that. The only issue is Kahatu is quite difficult to come by, to get a decent batch of Kahatu. And Strata, the more I play with Strata, the more I am absolutely convinced that we are not getting the Strata that the breweries are getting.
Yeah, it's there might be something to be said about that. I have done a American Pale Ale with Strata in it as kind of the main late hop, but it's a recipe that I've done many times before, which is normally mainly Mosaic as the kind of feature hop. But it's got lots of other stuff kind of late in the boil as well, like Centennial and Columbus, and maybe one other that I'm forgetting now. But anyway, putting Strata into that recipe, I was expecting the quite bright kind of citrus, grapefruity, and slightly kind of like mango-y notes that I've got off of it from a lot of commercial beers. And it's made a really nice beer, but it doesn't taste like that at all. It's like, it seems to be a really very different flavor profile of it. It's almost more like a, and again, this is in combination with a whole load of other hops, so it's not really like, there's not really any point sort of saying that's what that particular batch of Strata tastes like. But with those other hops, what I got from it mainly was kind of like a sweet, kind of candied orange thing, which was not necessarily what I was expecting. It still worked out as to be a nice beer, but
That's weird, right? Because I had a Strata beer from, oh god, who was it? I want to say Track, but I don't think it was Track. I had it in Tapped in Leeds. Can't remember who it was from. Anyway, I had this beer, and all I got from that beer was, you know, that tangerine flavour that you get from Voss?
yeah.
I got that, the kind of sweet version of it.
Mm-hmm.
That was literally all I got. Didn't get anything else. So it's weird you should mention that.
Yeah, it's but like that, I mean, that Burnt Mill beer is a good example, because from that, again, and it's with Kahatu, so it's kind of a bit pointless sort of trying to say that's the main flavour from Strata, but with that hop, it came out to me very much like mango dominant and kind kind of like bright sort of citrus breakfast juice kind of flavour. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just one of those, because it's a relatively new hop. Maybe it's one of those where it's there is just a lot of variation in the hop itself currently, because it's not really settled down yet. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, it's produced by Crosby, isn't it? Strata, I think.
Yeah, one of the smaller hop farms, I think.
Yeah, they sort of have
patented.
They do, yeah, and apparently they've just started producing Strata Cryo.
Okay.
Which I had a beer at these hills from Rivington that used Strata Cryo, and it was the beer of the festival for me. It was absolutely incredible.
I mean, I love those Verdant beers that feature it. I think the 20 and 40 watt Moon, I think they're called. Yeah, the ones that Rich Brooks was drinking at the tap room the other day, and I was trying to persuade him that the double IPA wasn't a double IPA, when in fact it is. Yeah, drink that, it'll be fine.
That's the 40 watt, isn't it?
I had it in my head that it was like they had like a 20, a 40, and a 60 watt, and that like 20 was sort of, you know, session, 40 was the normal IPA, and then 60 was the double. But obviously that was wrong. Or maybe there's a 10. Is there a 10 watt? Well, I don't know.
I don't know, mate. I think you're losing your shit.
I might have just been inventing stuff in my own tiny mind.
Yeah. No, I think there is a 10 watt Moon.
Aha! There was some logic behind it.
There was a 10 watt Moon. Let's have a look. It was a 4.5%.
Ah, there we go. So I just got my numbers mixed up. Yeah.
And then the 20 watt Moon was the IPA, and then the 40 watt Moon was the double IPA.
See, this is where my confusion started. Yeah.
I think you just, you got your scales wrong, mate.
Can I just say, if anybody notices some rat-a-tat-tat coming through,
you've got some classic Yorkshire weather in the background
it's
there.
It's fucking hammering it down.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's hammering. It just sounds like a nice little pitter-patter.
Oh, mate, it is banging it down.
It's
For anyone that's listening to the podcast,
to be fair,
it's going to be quite relaxing.
Yeah.
You've got that weather that they had over at the cricket for most of the day. Then again,
well, considering that's like 12 mile from me, yeah. We had a banging thunder. I love talking about this, right? Has anybody had any truly, clearly visible thunderstorms recently, where you've had some proper cracking bolts of lightning?
We've had quite a lot of thunderstorms, but not any of the impressive visual lightning bolts, unfortunately.
We had one. I was driving home after I dropped Oscar off, because Oscar's at is it Challenge 23, the scouting camp this weekend, and we had one when I was driving back with Abigail, and it was right in front of us. We came down a hill from where we dropped him off. You drop down a hill into this place called Renthorpe, and in front of you you've got the entire skyline of Wakefield, right? And there was this one bolt of lightning that came down, and it was like Thor himself had got pissed off with somebody and just dropped a fucking bolt on him. It was clear, it was bright blue, and it was just gorgeous as it dropped down. And I'm like, yep, somebody's dead.
If we're going to talk about anecdotes of thunderstorms, I did once go and play a round of golf. This was many years ago. Got to the second hole, and I hit my drive, and as the ball, and I hit a decent drive, as the ball's sort of flying through the air down the fairway, there was just this huge fork of lightning sort of in the distance behind, which made for probably one of the most exciting drives I've ever hit. But then subsequently we got to sort of in between hole 2 and 3, end up caught in the thunderstorm. And you know, if you ever caught outside in a proper thunderstorm and it goes over the top of you, it's quite scary. And I remember the hairs on my arm, like all sticking up because of the electrostatic, whatever the correct term is.
Static.
I'm thinking, geez, there's a small chance I might get like struck by lightning right now, especially when you've got a bag of metal rods, strapped to your back. You're kind of thinking, it's not really the ideal scenario right now.
Yeah. There's a bloke at work who plays golf, and he says it's all right to play bearing in mind he's in the English department. He said it's fine to play golf when you've got graphite shafts. And then I showed him the graphite rods that we use for the electrolysis experiment, and I'm like, no, it's not.
I was going to say, what that famously, conductive material graphite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure about that one.
That really nicely arranged carbon material.
If ever you want to do that, just grab a 9-volt battery, a couple of wires and some crocodile clips and attach it to either end of a pencil and see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's 9 volts, not
Get
3
some nice
billion.
glowing effects with that, can't you?
Yeah. It's when it bursts into flames in the middle of the pencil that you know you've done it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was quite cool.
Hastings I was pretty quick to finish that round of golf on hole 2.
I'll bet you were.
Having been absolutely soaked.
That's
There's
not
no
ideal,
worse
is it,
than
when
walking
you're
around with wet pants.
out on a golf course? Do I stand in the middle of the golf course with my metal or graphite golf club, or do I hide under a tree, which might equally lead to lethal consequences? So
Yeah, the weird one that most people don't understand is the lightning actually goes up from the ground. So the lightning occurs within the clouds and travels above, and then the earth actually comes up from the ground up to meet it. So if you're standing up on an open plain and you're the tallest thing, you're what the earth is going to use to actually ground the lightning. That's why, yeah.
That's bonkers.
Yeah, look it up on YouTube. There's some really cool videos of like slow
Blown my
motion
mind.
of the actual the electricity shoots up from the earth to the lightning bolt and then kind of catches it and grounds it, earths it, so to speak. And if you're the tallest thing around and you're in the middle of a static field, then you'll be the thing that the earth uses to ground the charge within the clouds.
That's proper mad.
Well, it's all to do with water molecules rubbing together. That's all it is. Quite cool.
Oh, well, I hope your shed doesn't get struck by lightning, Chris.
I've got a rubber roof.
That's alright then. You'll be fine.
There's a reason why I've got a fucking rubber roof, mate. I'm also surrounded by trees anyway, so they'll conduct before I do, but yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, a little bit of physics put into the development of my shed. Right, who's got another beer then? Because this is a commercial episode. We need to have another beer. Tricky, have you got
I'm
another
gonna have
beer?
to go and fetch one, to be fair. So somebody else has got one to
I've got a fridge right
pull
next
out of
to
their
me, mate.
pocket. Yeah, I really need to get a mini fridge or something in here so I can stock
I'm
it.
surprised you
in
don't
advance.
have one. Right, guys, this is
Just
the thing.
thinking,
Right?
this is a major oversight in terms of my planning of my workspace here. There needs to be a
If
beer cooler
anybody
of some
is
kind.
close to Bedford or Luton or Tricky's surrounding area who has an under-counter fridge that they would be willing to donate or sell for a very small charge to Mr. Tricky.
I can't have another full-size fridge. There's too many of those in the
No, it
garage
has to be
already.
under counter. It has to be an under
Yeah,
counter.
but even then, like, I was thinking more of one of those little like mini fridge jobbies, just so I can transfer a few beers into that when it comes to a podcast.
Like sort of like 4 to 8 cans.
Yeah,
That
that's
sort
The
of size.
problem
more
is though, they
reasonable.
all work on Peltier coolers, so they just literally warm your room. You're best off with
Yeah, I
something
don't
with a
want that, to be
full-blown
fair.
compressor. Anyway, I'm getting a beer.
Right. Yes. Anyway, I need to go and fetch one.
Right, fuck it, I'm doing this. We're doing it. I need a fresh glass, because this one's going to be, hopefully, interesting.
I mean, like, I could just review bread and butter again.
Is this the third can?
The third can, yeah.
Do you have a bit of a thing for bread and butter, Owen? Is it a nice beer?
It is a nice beer. It just happens that I bought 24 of them. So
Okay,
yeah.
right, I'm going to take this one off of the...
And I've fallen into that trap of my the remaining beers in my beer fridge largely being Imperial stouts.
Yeah, you see you've got an issue with Impy Stouts, don't you?
Yeah, So it's you've really got to be in the mood, and I don't think the summer is really like. I'm not in the mood for drinking an Impy stout right now.
Okay, Owen, strap in. I'm going to wait till Tricky gets back before I do my full review, right? Because I've got a really good review to do for this one. I may be slightly taking the piss out of another beer podcaster / reviewer, but I don't care because I'm going to go for it anyway. I don't watch reviews. I don't really watch channels. I mean, Tricky's got a channel, and I think the last time I watched one of his videos was about 6 months ago. I do go back, however, and watch the Santa Goes Down Under video on the regular because it's just fucking funny as. And also the video where he did the 3 clones and then compares them to the actual beers, because watching Tricky get smashed to fucking 12 minutes is amazing.
Thing is, it's like when you're recording YouTube material and you've got a camera in front of you and you're trying to do something, I've ended up like really pissed because you seem to just drink way faster because you're like, you want to keep tasting it and you're like trying to describe what it tastes like.
Yeah.
You're taking sip, and then you're like, oh crap, I've just finished that 8% beer. And you end up like,
yeah, you end up
Absolute
slurring for the last
mantis.
10 minutes of the video.
Yeah.
So, Tricky's back. He doesn't have his headphones on yet, but I'm going to do this one. Right, so Tricky's back. Okay, here we go. Right. So this is a beer that was given to me by somebody at work as a thank you for all the hard work that I've done. Because I'm the science technician at work. Which means basically if anybody's got a problem, I tend to fix it. That's like my job. I also prepare all the practicals and develop some stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it would appear recently I fix all the IT issues for the people who are too old to understand what IT actually is. Because, you know, being a teacher in a secondary college, there's a lot of people towards the end of their career who aren't au fait with, like, spreadsheets and stuff like that. Anyway, and this person, who is a wonderful human being, and I love her dearly, I think she's great, and she went, oh yeah, so we've got you this, and I got a wonderful £30 voucher for North Brewing, because she knows I like their beers, and they're in Leeds, and they do great food, so me and the family go, and we use that voucher, and then we buy some food, etc. Anyway, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And she gave me this can, and she said, oh yeah, it was just something that I picked up because I thought you'd like it. Now this beer is a strange beer because it's a lager. I'm not going to show you the can just yet, right? But this is a beer. It's a lager, and on the nose there's kind of this weird bitterness, this kind of astringent, pithy bitterness. Okay. Flavour-wise, it's a beautiful beer, but I'm getting these really weird hints of like fleshy blood orange in it. The smile on Tricky's face. And it's actually Brewdog Lost with blood orange. And it's weird because there's somebody who's doing reviews, and every single beer that he seems to review, he gets these notes of fleshy blood orange. And this one really does have notes of fleshy blood orange. So, there we go. It's actually not the nicest beer I've ever had.
is it legitimately got like a nice blood orange?
It's chemically
vibe?
as fuck, mate. It's
Is
just
it
chemical.
Like really
Yeah.
artificial.
Yeah. It's not great. However, I figured I'd give it a review because this is, according to Brewdog, the world's first carbon negative beer.
Sure. I'm sure that's
All
true. I'm sure that's definitely true.
I'm pretty sure there are breweries in Peru and South America who are literally powered only by the fucking stream that runs at the side of their brewery. You know, all those weird farmhouse brewers in Norway and Sweden who burn spruce tips to boil their water, because they're pretty much carbon negative anyway. But yeah, not the best beer I've ever had. 4.5%. Yeah, I don't like it. It's not really a great example of a lager. It's not a great example of a fruited lager. And it's not a great example of a beer, if I'm honest. Quite underwhelming.
Is the cheese plant still thirsty? Or is
The cheese plant is
gone?
always thirsty.
Is it?
Yeah. That cheese plant could drink and drink and drink day after day, and no matter how much shit beer I throw at it, the fucker still lives. There's got to be some kind of... It's got to be a mutant cheese plant.
Such a weird name for a plant. Why call it a cheese plant?
Because the leaves have got holes in it, I think.
Yeah, like a Swiss cheese.
Yeah. Swiss cheese is nice. I like Swiss cheese. Emmental on a burger's fucking stunning.
Go feed the cheese plant.
I'm going to go and feed the cheese plant.
Yeah.
Tricky. Get off Pornhub.
I was looking for a fleshy blood orange moment on a certain YouTube channel. Try and drop it in. But having said that, it's actually quite difficult to find one. Because his reviews are quite long. So it's, yeah. It's in most of them, though, to be fair. If it's anything with any kind of hoppy, pale ale or IPA. But anyway.
I'm not feeling that beer at
if
all.
you know, you know. The people out there know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
I've got another left-handed giant beer. Some of the cans are branded left-handed giant brew pub, as opposed to just their normal logo. So I don't know whether that means some of them are brewed on a brew pub site versus the main brewery or not. Not sure. But this one is their Nelson and Simcoe Pale Ale at 5%. So sounds promising already. Nelson and Simcoe should be good. There's not really any other information on it, so that's the beer in the glass. Pretty hazy, not quite fully opaque, but it's getting there, and decent sort of level of carbonation and a little bit of a head on the top. It's mainly Nelson on the aroma to me, so it's definitely kind of grapey, gooseberry, a little bit sweet malt. Pretty good. Not massively in your face, so it is definitely more kind of like pale ale level of hop aroma as opposed to IPA. And yeah, Nelson flavour, a little bit of grapefruit, citrusy thing going on there. Nice sweet malt. A little bit of bitterness as well, so it's got that kind of pale ale balance to it. It's very nice, very drinkable. Yeah, I'd happily have a few of those. Yeah, good. I'm liking the left-handed giant beers so far out of the ones that I've tried.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really sort of. You don't tend to hear much out of left-handed giant. I think they kind of made a big splash maybe like 5 years ago, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they've gone a bit more kind of local in terms of sort of trying to compete on more the national scene. That
Yeah.
I'm not sensing like, you know, there's I don't tend to hear much about them.
No, definitely. I mean, I
they in
don't
Bristol?
see them that much. They are Bristol, yeah.
Bristol.
It's not like, I mean, like like you say, I'm kind of aware of the brand, but more from a few years ago than kind of current. So I don't tend to see. I was saying that I think there might have been one of their beers in the bottle shop last time I went, but I don't tend to see them, you know, out and about that much. So when I noticed they're on Bruiser, I thought, oh, I'll give them a go because I know that they. I think the last time I bought beers from them was when we did one of the live brew days. I think we did their Cheeseburger Cavalry.
Cheeseburger Cavalry, yeah.
Yeah, that was their beer, wasn't it? So, although having said that, I remember like their actual version of it wasn't that great that I got.
That's what I remember. Everyone was.
Maybe that's why that was the last time I bought it.
Everyone was buying it to kind of get an idea of what the beer was, and then they were kind of drinking it and going, "Yeah, actually, that's really not that great." And then doing comparisons as well once they'd brewed the beer and being like, "Yeah, that's really not all that good."
That was one of those where I think a lot of people were like, "Yeah, actually, my one's way better than the real thing," kind of deal. So yeah, it makes sense now why that was the last time I bought any of their beers. But it seems like the current quality is really good from the 3 beers that I've had so far. Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like I probably ought to give them another crack of the whip. Maybe sort of order up some of their beers and see what they're all about. I know, like the Bristolian crowd are big fans. I think Bristol have got some really good breweries and tap rooms. That might be a good option for a sort of weekend away, actually.
Yeah, so I think it's been discussed in the past, hasn't it? The potential for a Bristol beer trip, because you've got those guys, you've got Arbor, which we've obviously, we've all talked about a bit on the pod, but Chris more than anyone else. Who else is down in Bristol? Is more beer? Are they Bristol? Might be.
They're similar area, aren't they? And then there's the one with the gorilla on it.
That's got Bristol in the name, hasn't it? Is it New?
Yeah, Bristol.
New Bristol something.
New Bristol Brewery, something like that.
Yeah. Well, he's got a spacesuit on, right? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like a sort of monkey astronaut or something.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, what's it? Let's just check that out. We do need some sort of hop edition meetup. Bristol Beer Factory, I think it's called. Is that the one with New Bristol Brewery, and then you've got Bristol Beer Factory. There seems to be quite a lot of places to go check out in Bristol. Brewhouse and Kitchen, which always produces pretty good, relatively draft beers. Wiper and True.
Oh yeah,
they make some great beers. Fierce and Noble, another great brewery. Lost and Grounded, make some great lagers.
Would definitely like to go there.
Yeah, I'd like to go there too. Arbor, I think Arbor might be a bit further out than. Oh no, tell a lie, they're not that far out. There's absolutely tons of good places to drink craft beer in Bristol, by the looks of it. Bonkers. Need to get this organised, Tricky.
We have.
I concur. It must be done.
We have a new member of staff joining
us
in September, and she's currently in Bristol, and she's into craft beer. She likes pint, and I said to her, I said, so which breweries have you visited down there? And she went, there isn't really a craft beer scene down there.
No, what?
I'm like, what now?
So what?
She went, no, can't really find anything. I went, give me like 2 minutes, I'll give you a list.
Yeah, you're not looking hard enough.
Have you punched Bristol craft beer into Google?
Well, she went off.
Sounds like she hasn't.
She did a wander round with the head of department, and I wrote this list, and I think I got to 6 breweries before I got to the end, and I'm like, there's a list of everything that you need to try during your next 3 months down in Bristol, and then when you come back up in September, you can tell me how good they all were. And she went, I didn't realise. You went, which one's the best? And I just went, Arbor. And she went, okay, we'll try them first. And then I got an email off of her like a week afterwards, and she went, how come you've only just told me this now? I'm like, because I've only just fucking met you. But yeah, there's some great craft beer down in Bristol. I agree, we definitely need to go down there.
Agree, and I think we need to get to Cologne as well.
We do.
I think we need a little hop edition trip to Cologne to drink some Kolsch.
Kolsch. It's called Kolsch. It's pronounced Kolsch.
Yeah, we'll turn up in Cologne and ask for Kolsch, yeah?
And get punched.
And punched in the face. Poked in the eye.
We will decide the names. Yeah, we definitely need to.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Good. We need to go.
Let's do that next year.
Yeah. Can't remember who was talking about it. Was it Somebody was talking about organising it. Was it Lukey? Was it Luke Stevens?
I don't know, mate. I don't know, but I think, and then of course you can go across the river to Dusseldorf and go and drink the old beer. So it's like, you know, you get two beer destinations in one.
You guys
either that, you got to go to Munich, right?
You guys hang in Cologne. I'll be in Dusseldorf.
Yeah, you'll be like all about the old beer.
I'll be there, and just like literally, we'll be opposite sides of a river. Yeah. Can I talk about my beer now?
Yeah, go on then.
I don't know if I've raved about this one before. I probably have, but this is Beauty Killed the Beast by Pomona, which is a peach iced tea sour with yuzu. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before because I had a few cans of this one, but this is a banger. It's beautiful. It's wonderfully sharp from the yuzu. Whereas at the same time, it's got that kind of almost fruit meat flavour that you get from peach, that wonderfully tropical note with the kind of the fleshy nature of it. And then there's a sourness that just kind of slides through the whole flavour profile and ends up at the other end. This is an absolutely stunning beer. One that will not last long in this glass. And the best part about it is it's really sour. But at the same time, on the nose, you get this wonderful, like, tea smell. Just the aroma of tea. It's an incredible beer. I love yuzu. Like, I made because I found some yuzus in Costco, and I made a yuzu tart, like a lemon meringue tart, but I made a yuzu meringue tart. Absolute chef's kiss, perfect.
So for the listeners that aren't familiar with yuzu, what is yuzu, Chris?
It's like it's a Japanese citrus fruit.
So
like a
almost
Japanese,
a bit like a lime.
yeah, it's like a Japanese lime, yeah.
A Japanese lime, yeah.
It is phenomenal, but it's also the most mouth-puckering thing you will ever eat. It is so freaking sour, it's untrue. Works
It's like
really well with the peach in the
borderline,
tea.
like inedible.
Oh, you can't eat one raw. Like,
No.
you know the lime challenge where people stick a lime in the face and the face screws up because it's too sour? Yeah, try that with a fucking yuzu. Your head will literally disappear down your own arsehole. They're so sour. Literally, your face will turn inside out. People will be able to see your brain.
Your face will just pop out your bum.
Yeah, they're so fucking sour. But this beer is amazing. It is such a nice beer. It's such a great, like, puckeringly sour beer. And I don't think in fact, I'm fairly sure most of the sourness comes from the yuzu juice rather than from the actual, you know, the fact that it's a sour beer. It's a great beer.
So it's a pretty sort of avant-garde kind of concept beer, right? So they're taking tea, they're taking yuzu, and they're like, and it looks pretty hazy too.
But it's a peach iced tea.
Yeah, so they've
So
got
it's a peach iced tea sour with yuzu.
You got a bit of thunder there as well now, Chris.
And the lightning, yeah.
Yeah.
Went outside for a pee and almost got shot by lightning. It's over Wakefield at the minute.
Thor decided to be like, come on, Chris.
Yeah. Well, fuck him, I've got a rubber roof.
It's alright, I don't think you need to worry about that rod conducting anything.
No, it's fine. Yeah, this...
I would love it if Chris Hemsworth just wanders into the background to be.
I would as well. I'd be like, Chris, dude, how's it going? But no,
Yeah.
this is oh mate, this is absolutely amazing, and the can art's phenomenal as well. It's like a crazy gorilla with a beanie hat on.
We were just talking about crazy gorillas.
Seems to be a theme at the minute, gorillas
Yeah.
and beer art.
It's great. This is an awesome beer. I would highly recommend people give this particular beer from Pomona Island a shot because it is a good beer. We're
Yeah,
constantly banging on about breweries on this podcast, but Pomona Island are pretty good.
Yeah, I need to.
Not that one.
I've drunk a couple of years ago. I sort of got quite into Pomona Island. I think it was during lockdown. Actually, I think I'd ordered at least a couple of times from them. And I don't think I've really drunk any Verdant beers for absolutely ages. So I need to correct that as well. I need to get some Verdant beers in my life.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some even
And
Sharks
Daya.
Need water for comparison purposes, because I've got my version of that brew just kegged today
Tribute.
Oh, nice.
with the Galaxy Spectrum in it. So
Ooh.
I think I'm going to change the name to Even Sharks Can Be on the Spectrum, just to make it a little bit edgy.
Oh, you're so wild. Deep thinker.
Come.
Yeah,
Tricky as a deep thinker.
not really. It's
Not
just
really,
like, how
no.
can I put Spectrum into the name? Okay, that works.
Even sharks like Spectrum.
It would have been more cool if you'd have put Sharks and a Spectrum 48K together. Even Sharks can play Super Bomberman.
It's the niche geekiness there, really. Isn't it?
Absolutely.
But I like
That's
it.
that's like elusive brewing level
Yeah,
geekiness going on
exactly.
there.
That's far too much weed brewing, is that? No.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think that's a recipe I've never actually attempted in its entirety.
No, well, I mean,
Despite
I'd always
the fact that
been
the recipe's out there.
terrified of it just because of the fact it had lots of Galaxy in there, and it was like, oh, I know their version of it's good, but can we make it drinkable with the Galaxy that we have available?
More to the point, based on what we know from LCBF that year where we were all there and talking to him, could you replicate a beer of that style without having a centrifuge?
Do they have a centrifuge though?
Yeah.
I
That was
don't
one of the
recall.
things that they told me about.
I don't recall this conversation.
Yeah,
That's because you were far more pissed than me.
Yeah, true. That's exactly the reason why I don't
Verdant
remember
said
that conversation.
You sure? Okay. But yeah, anyway, so I thought, like, well, if there's one way to get around the issues with Galaxy, maybe using the Spectrum
Buy a
in there.
centrifuge.
If a centrifuge is out of your budget, maybe use some Spectrum instead.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, why not spend 25 grand to make your own brew better?
I agree.
And that would be like a
And he did
half-bit
when he bought his
broken second-hand
conical.
centrifuge.
Verdant aren't using a centrifuge. Like,
That's what they said.
Maybe they were winding you up. I'd be a little surprised if they were, but who knows? Who knows? I mean, they're pretty. Since they got their new brewery, they're like definitely been spending a lot of money, haven't they? So they could well be equipped with a centrifuge these days. But I like Verdant beers. I haven't drunk a Verdant beer for a long time, and I'd like to correct that error.
yeah, I think I had one from the local bottle shop the other day, but I haven't. Yeah, like you, Owen, I don't think I've not done a direct sort of Verdant order for a long time. And yeah, Daya's a weird one because I feel like they've kind of, I don't know, they're a bit gone a bit quiet as far as people talking about them, haven't they? Really, I'm not. Do you know what I mean? It's not like and not again not as prominent in the bottle shops and stuff that I've been in recently, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe their hype has sort of calmed down a bit.
Yeah, definitely a bit of that.
Same with Cloudwater. I'm not sure you tend to see quite as much Cloudwater around as you once did. I think basically like a lot of the rest of the craft brewing thing has kind of caught them up. Broadly speaking, I haven't drunk any Daya beers for a long time, and again I need to correct that issue because I think Daya are a fantastic brewery. Produce a lot of great hazy beers. I think Cloudwater and Day have both broken into a lot more spawn, mixed firm, barrel aging type projects. They tend to sort of be producing a bit more of that ilk of beers, which is great. I think that's really admirable. I think that's a great effort to push forward. But I think it's probably more not at a cost, but probably de-emphasised their sort of core beer style that made them famous. If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Right, guys. It sounds to me like we're scraping the barrel. It doesn't look like anybody's cracking any new beers open.
No.
Should we call that one there and fire up a bit of a chat after party?
Yeah,
Good
I think so.
idea, Chris.
Especially as the background noise for you is starting to get a little bit intrusive.
It is absolutely tipping it down, mate.
I mean, if it was chucking it down before and that's now gone up to that volume,
well,
that must be
the storm is literally right above me at the moment.
Yeah.
So
it is. It's hammering it by the sounds of it.
it is absolutely banging it down. Let's put it this way: if I want to piss, I'm cracking the door and pissing out rather than walking out to have one.
Yeah. Good plan.
Yeah. So we're gonna call that one there.
Pull the plug.
Right. Brewkeg Tap's having a monster sale. It begins next week. If you're listening to this after the 8th of July, you've probably missed it. I doubt very much this particular one is going to get released as an audio version. We tend not to do that with the commercials. So, yeah, just go and check out Brewkeg Tap if you're one of the 16 people listening. We will be putting stuff on our socials and stuff like that for people to look at as far as bringing attention to BKT. But other than that, this episode is in the bag. I'm going to call up Jitsi Meat now, and I'm going to fire up a meeting. I'm going to stick a link into the chat for both Facebook and YouTube right now. Check that one out. Jump on there because we'll be in there in a couple of minutes. We just got to wait for stuff to upload. But other than that, thank you for joining us. It's been a rambling podcast. It's probably the best way we can describe it. But the only thing that I'll say is we've actually we've had a few beers.
Yeah, I've had a nice time.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening along.
I also enjoyed reading that scientific paper about thiols. I've bookmarked that. I'm going to read that one later on. So yeah, check us out. Part-time pumps constitute constantly on Jitsi Meat, and we will catch you guys soon. So thanks for listening. We're out. Thanks to our Patreons. Forgot to mention them. Thanks for the Patreons.
Yeah, cheers guys. It's been fun. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Bye.
I'm hoping my roof doesn't start to leak or I'm fucked. I'm going to drown almost instantly. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.